All right, hi. I believe there was a technical error, so I'll just restart from the beginning so that you all can go through it right from the beginning again. So I'm sure you've heard. My name is Abhishek Mitra. I'm the head of Time Study Abroad. So what we're going to talk about is about GMAT exam, and we will talk about various colleges or B schools that you can apply with in India with GMAT score, along with some of the international B schools that you can apply to. Okay. So, what is GMAT? GMAT is Graduate Management Admission Test conducted by a company called GMAC, which is Graduate Management Admission Council. They are based out of US. However, they also have an India office, which is in Gurgaon. So, in case you face any problem in terms of during your test, I mean, while booking for your test, or your name is not correct, the spelling mistake in your name or your passport or address, you can connect with them. There's a customer service number, and they will help you to solve your issues. Okay. The GMAT score, if you look at the GMAT score, it happens on a scale score. The minimum that you can score is about 205. That means you sit there and do nothing, but still you score about 205. And the maximum that you score is about 805, which is, and it happens on a 10-point increment, which is like 205 to 215 to 225 to 235, so on and so forth. The best part of GMAT is valid for 5 years. So you can take take the test now, and let's say you while you some of you were studying and who are still in college and you've got a great campus placement, you can go ahead and take the campus placement, work for a couple of years, and then use the same GMAT score for your application for your MBA or your Masters in Management program. So the point is, uh, you can the advantage of this score is you don't have to take every year. You can take once, bank your score, work for a couple of years, and use the same score for your MBA application later on. Uh, the GMAT also gives you to send your score to 5 business schools free of cost. That means you don't have to pay any money for sending your score to 5 business schools. Okay, more than five, if you wish to send, you need to pay $30 per reporting score. Okay, that means you have to pay a money to pay amount of dollar to send your score or your report your score. Now, once you get the score, it generally takes about 3 to 4 business days to get your score. After you've got your score, you have 48 hours to choose which 5B school you wish to apply to, and based on that, uh, based on your score, you can apply to those 5B schools. Okay. Now, GMAT has 3 sections: a quant reasoning, the verbal reasoning, and the data insight. As a test taker, you have an option to choose whichever section you want to start your test with. So there are six formats, and you can choose any one of the formats. So let's say if you are comfortable with the data inside verbal and quant, this format you can choose this. In case you are comfortable with the quant verbal or a data inside, you can choose that, or you can even go with the verbal quant or data inside, whichever you, as out of the six, whichever you think you are comfortable, you can choose that format to take your test. Data Insight has 5 sections, 20 questions. The scale score is 60 to 90, which is constant in all 3 sections. You have 45 minutes time for it. There are 5 sections, typically sections: data sufficiency, graphic interpretation, multi-source reasoning, table analysis, and two parts analysis. Okay. Now, when I say 20 questions, you see there are 5 sections. Each of these sections would have 4 questions. That's how it makes it 20 questions. Quant, you have 45 minutes time. Number of questions are 21. The scale score remains the same, 60 to 90. And the section comprise of problem solving. When I say problem solving, it's basic maths. So what type of maths do we have in GMAT quant? We will have percentage, ratio, simple interest, time and distance questions. You will have profit and loss. You will have a question based on Venn diagram. You will have fundamental algebra, and so on and so forth. Okay. So the level of maths in GMAT is, if in compared to CAT, is about 30% easy. And if you look at the level that we get to, it's actually something what we have done in our school level. Okay, ninth and 10th, that level of maths that we get. It's just the way the question is put thrown to you in terms of the language English. It makes it a bit twisted or difficult, but otherwise, in general, GMAT maths is not very difficult. Okay, if you look at our trend, the Indian trend, The Indians are the second highest scorer. Let me give you a thumbs up on it. Indian are the second highest scorer across the globe. The Indian average number of questions correct out of 21 would be 19. If you look at the GMAT takers, about 40,000 odd people to take GMAT across India. If you look at the engineers, who would be somewhere about 25 to 30,000, those, most of them, I would say, would 80-85% gets their all questions correct. Okay, so GMAT maths is not very difficult. It's just is your scoring, and if you can practice well, getting a 19 or a 20 or an 18 or a 21 out of 21, it's not very difficult. Verbal, yes, it is difficult. I don't deny the fact, but it's not that difficult that we can't answer this. You have two sections: critical reasoning and reading comprehension. You have 23 questions. You have 45 minutes. There'll be 11 questions on reading, on critical reasoning, and 12 questions on reading comprehension. There'll be 3 to 4 paragraph. Each paragraph would have 3 to 4 questions. That's how it is 12 questions. From each paragraph, one question would be an eliminating format. Other type of questions that you generally get in reading comprehension are basically picking the question may come, they will pick up a line and ask the meaning of a line, what did the author mean there, or the or a phrase that will come up, what is the meaning of that phrase, or this relevance of that phrase. This is what they generally ask. Okay. um, it's not difficult. By and large, these reading comprehension paragraphs are about 200 to 250 words. You'll not get anything beyond more than that. So if you can understand the paragraph, suggestion is read the paragraph well, so that it becomes easy to answer 3 4 questions per paragraph. Okay. Going, I mean, before I move on to the next screen, if you can score about 17 to 18 questions correct in verbal, if I take you are just one below Indian average of 19, if you get about 18 questions correct in quant and about again 17 to 18 questions correct, I mean, even 60, if you, 15 to 16 questions correct in the data inside, getting a 725 is not very difficult. I mean, you can crack, you will get a score in that, somewhere in that range. Now, there's a couple of thumb rule in GMAT exam. One, you have to finish the test because GMAT is a computer adaptive test. Unlike CAT, which is a computer based test, GMAT is a computer adaptive test. So you have to finish all questions. You have to attempt all questions. However, there's no negative marking in GMAT if you answer it incorrectly. So if you answer it wrong, because it's an adaptive test, your next question becomes easier than your previous question. So you can move on from there, or rather move up from there. Okay. Wherein in CAT, if you have answered it wrong, you have a negative marking. There's no negative marking in GMAT. And the best part of GMAT is uh, because it's adaptive, it adapts to your ability. You, even if you are answering a couple of questions incorrect, you'll come to a level where from there you can actually pick yourself up with a couple of correct answers. Okay. To register, you need to go to a site called mba.com. You can do it today. It doesn't cost you any money. It's a basic, it's a site where you will ask for name, email ID, create your user ID, password, fill in up your details. And at the end, you'll see a small checkbox, which, if you click on that, you will receive data every fortnight, which will give you an idea of which are the top B schools, what type of scholarship we offer, what type of salaries, what is the in thing today, what type of programs are, whatever people, companies are hiring, what type of specializations are in today. So this will help you to choose your program, college, and where which country you wish to go to. Okay. The exam fee of $275. Generally, GMAT happens in a prometric center. There are 2 3 prometric center in every city. The cities which does not have a GMAT prometric center, you need to find the nearest city which has a GMAT exam center. As I told you, GMAT is a computer adaptive test. Another advantage for GMAT is you can change your date and venue by paying $50 or $150 at the most. If you want to reschedule a test, for example, if there is an family exigency or something that you can't take the test on your book date, you can reschedule a date by paying $50 to a max. As in when you, if you're very near to your day of your exam, then it will be 150. If you have more than 10 days time in hand, it will be a $50 each. To take the GMAT exam, passport is mandatory. You need to have a valid passport, which is about valid for the next 6 months. Eligibility, anybody can take the test. There's no bar in terms of qualification or your percentage or whether you're studying or you're working professional. Anybody can take the test, graduates, undergrad, or working professional. And there's no bar in terms of uh, percentage. Anybody, a 50% student can take, a 40% student can take, and even an 80% student can. Tests are conducted throughout the year. Unlike CAT, which happens once a year, or any other test which happens once a year in India, GMAT happens every day. Okay, except national holidays and on Sundays, GMAT happens every day. So if you're ready for a test tomorrow and if you've got your slot, you can always book your slot tomorrow and go ahead and take the test. There's certain protocol that you need to maintain while taking the test. So you, on the day of your test, you have to carry your original passport along with your admit card, and once you go there, you have to go through a certain level of security check, and you would be given a locker room to keep every documents that you're carrying. Only nothing is allowed inside uh, the main exam hall. Okay, as I told you, security check, and you generally get your score about, as I told you, 3 to 5 business days. GMAT also has an option in each section, a review and edit option, wherein if you are not very sure on once you have answered all the 20 questions, or 21 questions or 23 questions, uh, GMAT gives you an option to edit your answer after each section. Let's say in the verbal section, or let's say in the quant section, uh, you have answered 14th, 17th, and say 23rd. These three, you are not very sure with the answer that you have given, and you wish to change. So after all the 21 questions are answered in the quant section, you can actually alter them, or you can go back to question number 17, question number 10, and question number maybe 5, and change those answers. But you have only three options, three reviews or editing option per section, and it has to be within the given period of time, which is that 45 minutes. The exam can be taken 5 times in a year with a gap of 16 days. Another biggest advantage of GMAT is, let's say your first exam score, you didn't like it, you want to reattempt for the test. You don't have to wait 1 year like other tests. You can take the test 16 days after your first test is over. So if taken on 1st of December, you can retake the test on first 17th of December again. Those scores are basically applied for B school application. Ideal time to prepare is about a year prior to the intake. I'll tell you what is an intake. Intake means the time the college starts its classes. Generally, most of the international B schools, they only start their class sometime in September, which is the fall intake, which is the best intake to go, because that's when most of the colleges opens their window and they have more their admissions. So you have more colleges to choose from, and because there are more colleges, the more options for you. The scholarships are provided during that period. So fall is the best time. However, a lot of colleges have a spring intake and a summer intake also. Why I say ideally a year before, because if you are planning to start your MBA in 2026, your deadline to submit your, there are typically three deadlines that you have: the round one deadline, the round two deadline, and the round three deadline. The round one deadlines are typically in the all top notch B schools are generally in September of the previous year. So 2026, if you're trying to start your MBA in 2026 September, or the fall intake, your deadline, your round one deadline would be typically the first week of September, which is the round one. September to October is generally the round one deadline. December to January is your round two deadline, and round three deadlines are in typically in March. Okay. That's for the international B schools. Indian B schools, if you look at ISB, they have a September deadline, they have a December deadline, and sometimes they come up with a January deadline also. Any score around 7 or 5 is considered to be a good score. Countries, everybody except GMAT score, whether top colleges from US or Europe or Canada or Singapore and India. Most of all these top countries accept GMAT score. The programs with the GMAT, you can apply to multiple programs across globe. So if the first, if you don't have WorkX, and if you just coming out of your college and you want to do your management, there's a course that you can definitely go in for, which is called Masters in Management. It's a 1 year program. Typically, it gives you a guaranteed job with an average salary of about 52,000 to about 80, to about $100,000 a year. Um, if you look at most of your IIMs, there is a world ranking that you can follow, which is called Financial Times uh, IIM Financial Times ranking. If you go to the Financial Times MIM ranking on 2025, you will see I am Bangalore, I am Calcutta, I am Ahmedabad. They all come in the top 50 in the world because all these colleges, the IIMs comes under the MIM ranking. However, when I say an MBA ranking, it's only ISB at this point of time, which is ranked within the top 50 in the world. There are other Indian B schools like I am Ahmedabad, I am Bangalore. They are also there in the MBA ranking for their executive MBA, which requires 4 years of work ex. Okay. Now, what is an MIM? MIM is basically Masters in Management program. It's a lesser duration. After you graduate out, you get a job as an assistant manager or a senior executive in any domain that you can think of. The most of the top colleges are in Europe, then Singapore. Some of them are in Canada and US. The range of studying an MIM would range anything between 16,000 euros to about 25,000 euros. Okay. The top colleges, people think studying abroad is very expensive. No, isn't. If you look at the world's best college, which is St. Gallen, which is in Switzerland, the cost of studying is 3,326 Swiss franc first semester. There are only 3 semesters that you need to do. There's 9,975, which boils down to over 10 lakh of Indian rupees, and you're done with your studies. Okay, that's the tuition fee. You can avail a scholarship if you have the potential. You can look at good colleges like NCR, HEC Paris, London Business School, IE Spain, all averaging between 25 to 30 lakh of rupees to study. I mean, some of the Indian B schools today, if you look at the IIMs, are almost about 25 lakhs. But yes, similarly, St. Gallen, and these are ranked way above our IIMs today. If you look at some of the colleges at the bottom, like NHH Norway or a Copenhagen Business School, there's no tuition fee. It's free of cost. And on top of that, after you pass out, you get a guaranteed job with a minimum salary of about 60 to 70,000 euros per annum as your salary. And you get jobs with Swiss Bank, Credit Suisse, or let's say you get to a North Sea Oil Corporation or a Siemens or a Nokia, these set of companies. They are the average salaries and the specializations. You can anything you can think of, right from if you want to get into finance, you can do MIM with specializing in finance, in investment, in finance. Also, you can do specific things like retail banking, investment banking, financial analyst. You can do MIM uh, in entrepreneurship. You can do MIM in general management. You can get into consulting. You can get into operations, supply chain management. People who wish to go into an offbeat thing, you can look at the MIM, do masters in luxury brand management, which is a great option where a lot of female are joining the brand. After you complete this course for 1 year, you get to work with Louis Vuitton, Prada, Chanel's, Ralph Lauren, Ted Baker of the world. You are placed somewhere in Europe as a store manager. That's your job. With the average salary can range anything between $120,000 to about $150,000 a year. Okay, some of the people who wants to go into sports, you can get into sports and do specialization in sports management, like sustainable sports management, and get to work with Wimbledon or a PGA Tour or an NBA, or you can become managers of a couple of players and you handle a lot of players. You can work with the football teams in Europe, like a Chelsea or a Manchester or a AC Milan, or you can work with Formula One companies. Okay, so that's an advantage that you have. The other topic, if you want to get into IT or a business analyst, so you can get in MIM that gives you an option to work with Google or Dell or a Capgemini or a Deloitte. Deferred MBA is something but we which states that if you're still in college and you're in your final or your pre-final year, you go through the entire process of application. You give your GMAT exam, you go give the interview. If you qualify, you get your offer. The offer states that the year you graduate, that the year you graduate from that year, you need to gain 2 years of work X and join and then only you can join the course. Let's say you're graduating in 2026. You give your application now, you go through the entire process of application, you give your interview, get your offer. The offer will state that uh, you can join the class in 2028 September. From 2026, when you graduate out, till 2020, before 2028 September, you need to earn 24 months of work X. Then only you're allowed to join the class. That's called deferred MBA. Your admission is guaranteed. You already have a seat booked for you, but before getting into the class, you need to earn 2 years of work X. That's called deferred MBA. The pioneer in them was Harvard 2 plus 2. That's the reason they named it as 2 plus 2. 2 years of work and 2 years of study. Then you have Yale Silver Scholar, Stanford Deferred MBA, ISB, YLP. Now they have changed the format from this year onwards. They're taking directly after your college. So from this year onwards, they have changed the format, but they also used to have something called an ISB, YLP. Then you have Rollins, Buffalo, and many more colleges like that. Only among them, only Yale has a bit different format, though it's a deferred MBA. But Yale says the year you graduate, you will join Yale. So basically, if you graduate in 2026, you will join Yale in 2026 September. 2026 to 2027, you will study at Yale. 27 to 28, Yale will give you a internship somewhere in US with a stipend of about $2,500 to $3,000 per month, and then you come back again in 2028 September and complete your third year of your MBA and you graduate out. Okay. Regular MBA, if you look at the international MBAs, in general, it requires WorkX. You need to have about 3 years plus to 4 years plus of WorkX. The cost of studying is a bit high. It costs anything in the range of 70 to 80,000 dollars on an average. May go up to 100,000 or $110,000 as a tuition fee. However, the salaries are immense. Only reason because you join the class with the X amount of WorkX under your belt. So and you also have a salary which you have been earning for the last 3 4 years in that organization, so you build from there. So generally an MBA guy would require about 3 years of work, 3 to 4 years of work preferably an assistant manager with a team handling experience. uh, Top colleges are Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, London Business School, Columbia, NCR, HKUST, and many more like that. Salaries are these. Recruiters remains the same for MIM or a deferred MBA or an MBA. GMAT also gives you an option to do a STEM course. STEM means science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So if you are choosing a program like Masters in Business Analytics, Masters in Finance, Masters in MBA a program like Master in Information System, MBA in Information System, MBA in Business Intelligence or Data Analytics, or MBA in Quantitative Management, the advantage is, especially for people who wish to study in US, they are allowed to stay back for 3 years under an option called OPT, optional practical training, for the next after you complete your course. So every country has its own choice. So let's say if you're studying in UK, whether you're doing a STEM course or a non-STEM course, that means you're doing a general management or which is not a STEM course, then also you're allowed to stay back 2 years. So UK gives you 2 years by default, whether it's STEM or a non-STEM. France gives you 3 years. Germany gives you 4 years. So every country has its own OPT period, which ranges anything between 2 to 3 years. US for a STEM student would have 3 years, but for non-STEM it's only be 1 year. The Indian B schools, about 140 Indian B schools which accepts GMAT scores, starting from ISB, you have IM for the executive MBA, then you have SPJIMR, Auxiliary, Amity, IMT Ghaziabad, MDI Gurgaon, then Goa Institute of Technology, and many more like that, but 140. Yes, I can't show you all 140 here, but then yes, there are about 140 B schools which accepts GMAT score in if in India. So these are the colleges. So and they have various programs which they accept the GMAT score for. Some of them are like MDI Gurgaon, IMT Ghaziabad, or an SPJ, and they they accept GMAT score for their regular or their flagship course also. What you require, especially for the internet, if you're applying to international, and there are a lot of colleges in Singapore, like SMU Singapore, HKUST Hong Kong. They're not very expensive. They would range anything between 15 to 16 lakhs to study, and about add on to another 8 lakhs of staying costs for a year. So you're done. Generally, all these courses are 12 months. The MIM courses, if you are fresher, um, some of the MBA courses have cut down to 1 year, 12 months courses because they are very intense, fast, because nobody wants to take a break for 2 years. A lot of people today wants to wrap up their MBA. So even if you look at ISB, it's a 1 year program. You look at NCR, it's a 10 months program. You look at ESSEC, which is 10 months. Your London Business School is a 15 months program. Wharton has come up with a 1 year program. Cornell Johnson, which has come up with a 1 year. Kellogg has come up with a 1 year program. So all of these top B schools, New York, NYU, Stern has come up with a 1 year program. So these colleges are already coming up with a 1 year program, which are much more intense, much because you don't have breaks in between. You finish up your studies and you move out with your job. So generally, what you require to for an application per se to any of the international B schools or some of the Indian B schools like ISB or SPJIMR is letter of recommendation. If you are studying, then your letter of recommendation ideally should come from one from your professor, one from your HOD. If you have done your internship, it's great. Then you can take one letter from wherever you've done your internship. Um, SOP, statement of purpose, has more value than your GMAT score. So ensure that your SOPs are very crisp, to the point, no beating around the bushes. You should generally, SOPs has a word limit and a topic given to you with some word limit. So you have to stay within that word limit and ensure that you answer them. I mean, give all your points there. I mean, it should not be offbeat or off the track. Generally, it has to be what the question means. It has to be relevant to that question. Okay, essay for application. Generally, if you look at the international B schools, they would have about 2 to 3 essays for your application. There can be one scholarship basis if you're looking for scholarships. There are two types of scholarship that you generally get: a need based and a merit based. However, the scholarships are provided basically on if you look at the merit based scholarship, it's your GMAT score, your academic score, your work experience if you have, or your internships. Then extracurriculars has a lot of weightage. It has a 15% weightage in your application. So ensure that you do something over and above your studies or your work. Resume crisp, to the point, of page and a half, not more than that. Mark sheets in a transcript format, not the format that you have. You have to be semester wise transcript and the full uh, entire exam, and all semester one transcripts. Financial documentation, there are a lot of organizations like Credila, like Indian banks and other organizations who helps in um, financing or giving you education loan, which are easily available. English language test is required if you're going abroad, so a TOEFL or an IELTS. However, most of the top B schools would waive it off if you can furnish that your medium of instruction during your bachelor's were in English. Then you can waive off your TOEFL. Work ex certificate is whatever work ex you have. Internships are not considered to be a work ex, so please keep in mind anything after graduation is considered to be a work ex. Extracurriculars, anything that you wish to do or you love doing it, like sports, music, social service, anything that you love doing over and above your studies is considered to be extracurriculars. So this is what we help you with: 66 hours of uh, training with 2 hours of introduction, 22 hours. We have online and offline classes which are available at our Time for Education website. You can choose the couple of variant with their live, online. We have recorded online with material or without material. So you can choose from there. This is what we give you: the verbal, the quant, the official guide available at a 7 to 800, which is the higher difficulty level question, a data inside book, a quant, and obviously the online test: 10 full length computer adaptive, 8 full length base, and 90 sectional test. When I say 90, it's verbal 30, quant 30, and DI 30. We also help you in your application. So if you are looking for support in your application, we help you in your shortlisting of your colleges, editing your SOPs, guiding you from on your LOR, the scholarship assistance, university application, documentation preparation, mock interviews. and before you leave a pre-departure orientation. So that's about from my side. If you have any questions, you can put it on the group. I would love to answer them. Questions, you can put it on the group. I would love to answer them. All right, somebody says, when is GMAT exam in 2026? As I told you, GMAT exam happens every day. This is an answer to Neelu. Guru Prasad, all right, so because your deadlines for Indian colleges, so you can take the CAT and then take, or if you're targeting only ISB or. When is GMAT exam in 2026? As I told you, GMAT exam happens every day. This is an answer to Neelu. Guru Prasad, answer to you would be because your deadlines of the Indian B schools are later. So and then take, or if you're targeting only ISB or exam happens every day. This is an answer to you. Answer to you would be because the deadlines of the Indian B schools are later. So